different background, also losing sunlight. Daylight savings needs to happen right now because it's like basically dark, but I got home, I got this video to film, and we're gonna get it up for you guys. But this is gonna be a keep it moving type video. I have all of my books that I read in October. I read 8 books. I enjoyed all 8 books, so I'm gonna talk about all 8 books. That's that. This video I think is gonna be going up late, but by the time that you're watching this, I should have Take What You Want done. So you know what, that has kind of had to take priority right now, and if that means that you guys are only getting 1 video a week, like last week and this week, then that's what it is. So sorry about that, but I know you guys get it. So anyways, first book that I read this month was No Place to Hide by Harper Ashley, and I think Ren Elizabeth, I want to say. I only wrote down the one author, but I'm pretty sure there were 2. And this is a novella. It's like a Halloween spooky season kind of novella vibe. Also, it's like kind of toasty, but it's also like kind of cold. I'm like warm from work, right? Anyways, our heroine, she recently broke up with her boyfriend. She's in college and she has these like friends and they go to this carnival, and basically all of her friends are kind of like, you've changed, and they kind of like want her and her boyfriend back together, and she's like, nope, we're not getting back together. And when she's at this carnival, she ends up seeing this hot dude working one of the rides and instantly kind of wants him. And obviously because it's a novella, there's no real build up to it, right? She sees him, he sees her, and he spots her. He's a carnival worker or whatever. He works like the haunted house attraction there, and he sees her and he immediately is like, oh, I want to like chase her down and like hunt her, and and basically when he says that to her, she's like, bet. And they end up doing that all night long at this carnival. That's pretty much the premise of this. Like I said, it's literally like 100 pages, so it moves pretty quick. It's hot. That's pretty much what there is to it, and I enjoyed it. So I know obviously this video will go up after spooky season has kind of passed, but if you're still in that mood, or bookmark it for next year on your TBR, there's that one. Next up, I don't know actually what I read in order. I don't have my reading journal in front of me, but I'm pretty sure next I read Black Sunshine by Karina Halley. So this is another kind of spooky vampire romance, gothic vampire romance. Our heroine Lenore, so she has been raised by what she thinks are her parents her entire life. However, when it is quickly approaching her 21st birthday, she starts feeling like someone's watching her and that she's kind of being stalked. And she's like, okay, I don't know about this. And she's just kind of started to notice certain things about her life. Well, turns out, she is a vampire. That's not like a spoiler. I feel like you know that. She's a vampire. And basically the person that has been watching her is another vampire, knows things about her past and knows what is coming, and she has no clue. And basically it turns into a captor-captive romance with them. And she basically has to grapple with not only the fact that she's a vampire, but that she has been lied to her entire life. This is the first book in a duet. It ended, like, I feel like this ended on like a pretty good point. I'm definitely like intrigued to read book 2, but I haven't picked it up yet. But it is a duet I see myself finishing. However, I will just preface this and say, this is not my favorite Karina Halley book, and that's not anything on Karina Halley or her writing. It's the fact that I have just come to the conclusion that I like vampires are just not my thing. I have tried every single year around Halloween. I try to get into vampires. Granted, I love the Twilight movies, but I've never read the Twilight books. I've never found a vampire book that I've been like obsessed with, and I think it's because of the blood. I don't know. I'm not like particularly bothered by blood either, but for some reason, like when it's like vampires like drinking from each other, it just like, I don't vibe. I don't click with it. However, I did really like both of these characters. I liked the romance. I liked all of the aspects of this story. It's just vampires are personally, I think, not necessarily my thing. Like I said, though, I still want to keep going, and I want to read Blood Orange. I think that's like adjacent to this world, but it's like a student teacher one instead. But anyways, I'd still recommend this. It's still good. It's just, yeah, I think I've just decided the vampires they're not for me. Okay, I think then I finished my audio reread of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. So with Onyx Storm book 3 coming out in this series, I think it comes out in January, I wanted to get caught back up. I had read Fourth Wing last year, but then when Iron Flame came out this year, I was not in the mood to read it. I just like was not in a fantasy reading mood, so I didn't read it. However, then I felt like I forgot a lot of this stuff from my first read, so I picked up the audiobook and I listened to that, and I really enjoyed my reread of this. I still really love this book, and I'm very excited to see where the series does go. So this one follows Violet, and it's basically kind of like a Hogwarts-ish academy, but for like dragon riders. You know, they like when you turn a certain age, you have to cross the parapet and like enter into this university, and you go into the different like quadrants or whatever, and she goes in to become a dragon rider, even though that's not necessarily what she thought her path was going to be. She loves books, and she thought she would always be a scribe. However, her mother, who is the commander, like general or something, is like, yeah, no, you're going to be a dragon rider. Of course, when she crosses over there, she meets Xaden, who is our hero in this, and he hates her. He wants her killed because their parents, her mom killed his dad because his dad was like a leader of the rebellion. And it's very layered with like rebellion and world and dragons, and I don't know. It's the end of the day. My brain has seen better days. Then I can explain a fantasy romance right now. But yeah, it has dragons in it. It's really cool. It's enemies to lovers. I really love Xaden. I like Violet's character a lot. I love the dragons in particular. I'm just such a fan of dragons. Anything that has dragons in it, I want it. So I really enjoy this, and yeah, I'm looking forward to reading Iron Flame now with this information like fresher in my head. Okay, I don't know what was next at this point, so I'll just go with it. I read The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. Oh, I loved this book. This was my favorite book that I read this month. I still think The Graham Effect, I loved just a little teeny tiny bit more, but oh, like I truly loved this one. So this is the second book in Elle Kennedy's Campus Diaries series, right? So the first book was a second generation spin-off of the off-campus series, and this one still takes place at Briar U, and you do see a lot of the like old characters that we love from the off-campus Briar U series, and then also Gigi and what's his face? Ryder. But this is Shane and Diana's story. I was like, why am I completely blanking? And it is a fake dating, hate to love neighbors romance. So Diana, she's a cheerleader, and she lives at this one apartment complex that she inherited from her dead aunt, I think. And it's like this apartment complex has a character in and of itself, and all of the various like residents there. That was honestly one of my favorite parts of this book, is just like the community that is at this apartment building. And she hates to see Shane moving in across the hall from her. She's like, how did he end up here? He's this cocky hockey player who slept with like most of the cheerleaders on her squad, and she's just like, she can't stand him because she just thinks that he's a fuckboy. And when he moves in across the hall, he is reeling from a breakup that he had with his serious girlfriend, and he's went through his like manho kind of ways, but now he's to the point where he's like, I don't really just want to like be hooking up with anymore. Like I'm a relationship guy, and I kind of want to change my image. However, like Diana's not having any of it, but they both end up in a situation where they need to fake date each other for various reasons, and they end up striking up that deal, and it's their fake dating romance. I loved this. The banter, perfection. The relationship buildup of these two, love it. The fake dating was great. I loved like all the aspects, like the ballroom competition, Shane's hockey, like I said, the HOA meetings, and like the side characters. Great. I will just say, look up trigger warnings for this one because it appears very light and fluffy, but there is some very serious topics that are handled in this, so definitely check your trigger warnings on it. But I loved this one. Like, truly, I haven't read an Elle Kennedy book that I don't love, and this was a great second installment of Campus Diaries. So, like I said, it might end up on my top 10 list of the year. It's for sure my favorite book that I read this month. Then I read two on audio, but I have them both physically, so I'll talk about them next. The Redemption by Nikki Sloan. I have been wanting to read this book for so long. I read the first three Filthy Rich American books years ago. Like, I want to say maybe like three years ago. And this is McAllister. So the first three books follow McAllister's son and his girlfriend Marius. However, you do see McAllister quite a bit. And in those books, he is not someone, I mean, you like him, but you do not like him. Like, he's kind of like a bad guy, a bit of a foe, kind of. But then this is obviously his redemption book. So he is this billionaire. He had all of this wealth, status, money, power, but he has kind of fallen from grace a little bit from the events that have happened in the previous books, which I won't spoil. I do think you could read this as a standalone, but I do think you're it would be a richer story if you know the original three books, what happens there. And basically he's trying to like figure out just kind of like what he wants for himself, how he's kind of getting his life back on track. And our heroine I forgot her name. Oh, Sophia. She ends up coming into the mix because she has some information that she thinks that McAllister is going to want to know. There's like a book being released, and she's kind of like, I can tell you, like who's trying to like infiltrate, bring you down a little bit. And he's like, well, what do you want for this information? And she wants a job with him, and they kind of like strike up a deal together. Hello, both of the kitties are here. Hi, Aria. Anyways, they end up striking a deal, and she becomes his assistant. And yeah, that's off limits, obviously, with her being his assistant. She's also younger than him, and it ends up being their romance. Listen, this was hot. I loved the redemption of McAllister's character. I loved Nikki Sloane's writing. I don't really have a complaint about this book, honestly. I loved it. There's that. Next up, now listen. This one is arguably the most wild and just straight up the most fun book that I've read in a while. And this one is one where it's just like, you know what, be along for the ride, okay, and enjoy it. And that's Pirate's Witch by Jessamine Rue. So this one, our heroine, she is obviously a witch, and she is under the king's power. She has this collar around her neck where basically she cannot access her magic unless if the king commands it. And there is a group of pirates then that overtake this one ship looking for her specifically because they want her magic, and they end up taking her captive. And I think, what, are there 5 or 6 pirates? She ends up on board their boat, and basically, yeah, they have these reasons. They have this curse that they need breaking, and they need her power in order to do so. So they go about trying to get that from her and like get the collar off her, what have you. That's that part of the story. But the biggest part of the story is then her just hooking up with all these pirates, and all these pirates hooking up with each other and then bringing her into the mix. Like, they're all very bonded together. And yeah, it's just a lot. It's pirate smut. It's pirate smut, quite frankly. It's literally, it's like the smut with a side of them trying to access her magic. And you know what? It's kind of what I needed at the moment when I read it. It was a fun time. Every night I sat down to read it, I was just like, I'm just going to be reading about her with all of these hot pirates. And you know what? I'm not mad about that. That is that. Like I said, this is definitely not one that I would say you're going into for the plot. But if you're just going in to have a fun time, maybe you need a little bit of a palate cleanser, yeah, this is the one for you. Next up, then I read Midnight Mass on audio by Sierra Simone. My library is getting rid of their contract with Hoopla, so I've been trying to read all the listen to all the audios that I've been like favoriting on there before it's gone, and this was one of them because I still needed to read this one in Saint. I still haven't finished Saint yet, but this is Father Tyler Bell and Poppy's their little novella. They have the first book, Priest, which obviously then I would not read this one if you have not read Priest yet because it wouldn't really make sense. It's a continuation of their story. And basically in this one, Tyler and Poppy are married, and I think they've been a couple of years, maybe like 3 years into marriage, and you know, they just, things are kind of struggling a little bit for them. They've realized that maybe like, or Tyler more so is wondering like, is love enough? He's kind of dealing with obviously him leaving his position as a priest and kind of everything that he set out to do, and how he kind of abandoned all of that for Poppy. And Poppy has her own stuff going on. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to accidentally give anything away, but once again, I will just say check your triggers on this. This does get really heavy and emotional once again, which like I kind of expected because Priest and Sinner both deal with some heavy and emotional topics, and this is no different. I really enjoyed this a lot. I like seeing couples go through challenges together, quite frankly. Like I love novellas that are not necessarily just like a continuation of people's like they're still happily ever after, but it's showing like the real life punches that get thrown, and they definitely get thrown a few punches in here, and I like seeing how they come together to overcome that. So I really enjoyed this one, a really solid novella, and once again, like Sierra Simone's writing is just, I think, really beautiful. And last but not least, at least I might finish one more book. I might finish A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley, but not by the time that I'm filming this, but I might still finish that one this month. We'll see. But my last book of the month, which was another favorite that I read, was Absinthe by Winter Renshaw. So this one is a principal student age gap forbidden romance. So basically our heroine Absinthe, and I couldn't actually pronounce his name, and I can't remember what his real name is, but anyways, our principal and Absinthe, basically over summer, he moves into a new house in this new neighborhood, getting a new job as a principal at this rich school. And he's not really looking for anything serious, and he ends up downloading this one app, and I forgot what the app, Karma, I think, and it like connects you with people through the app where you can like chat with each other, and you like unlock new features the more you chat, and he ends up getting matched with Absinthe. And Absinthe is our heroine. She is going to be starting her senior year of high school. She is 18, and she has been taken in by her aunt and uncle because her home life has been horrible growing up. She's been through and seen a lot in her lifetime, and so I will just say again, check your trigger warnings on things. But basically she lives with her aunt and uncle, and she just wants to finish high school and kind of be able to get out of their home. Like, they're very rich and wealthy and they can provide for her in that sense, but like emotional needs are like not being met by them. And then also basically the only reason she's even still with them is because she needs her college tuition paid for by them, or else she can't go to college, and she really wants to. So she's kind of sticking it out, and she ends up matching with our hero on this app, and they start talking and they form this deep connection over this app. Well, then school rolls around and she gets called into his office, and immediately he's like, oh, that's who I've matched with. That's her voice. Yikes. And she also clocks him right away. And it does end up being their romance. And he's like, absolutely not. Like, I cannot put my job on the line. Like, a forbidden romance where genuinely he fights it, because he's like, this is not allowed. Thank you. Thank you. I hate when they just like throw caution to the wind right away. Like, I want you to fight it if it's a forbidden romance, and they really do fight it. Yeah, that's all I will say about that one. I don't want to give anything else away, but I really enjoyed it. That is the 8 books that I read. It has gotten really dark. Sorry about that. But I don't like using a ring light, and I mean, maybe I need to get one, but also daylight savings time is coming into play soon, so hopefully it won't be that bad anymore soon. Or if I'm just on top of things more, I just remember to film on the weekends again. So anyways, that is it for today's video. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to have another video up this week. Actually, I know I'm not going to, but I should have Take What You Want's draft done. I should have it done, so thank God. So anyways, that is it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you when I see ya.